Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of The Black Phone. This movie is directed by Scott Derrickson, who previously directed Sinister and Doctor Strange. This movie stars Ethan Hawke and Mason Thames. Now, the plot of this movie is Mason Thames plays a kid named Finn, who lives in North Denver in the late 1970s. And the film focuses on him and his family. In the small town they live in, there is a kidnapper on the loose called the Grabber, played by Ethan Hawke. And when Finn is kidnapped by this evil and terrible man, he receives some help in the most unexpected way. So when they first announced this movie, just looking at the poster alone, I was like, yep, I'm sold. And then when I saw who the director was, I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to see this. Because before Scott Derrickson was known as the director of the first Doctor Strange movie, he directed Sinister, this movie. And it's very good. And so I was like, okay, I'm excited because this is Scott Derrickson doing what, to me, he's most known for, and that's horror. Now, I knew the film was going to involve kids, which is fine, because the way he used the kids and the aspect of childhood and families, he did very strongly. So I was definitely on board to see this movie. And just like Sinister, this film did not disappoint. So let me start with the acting in this movie. Ethan Hawke as the Grabber, terrifying. And not just because of the different masks that he uses. He uses one mask, but it has interchangeable parts. But a lot of the movie, if actually like 90% of the movie, you don't see his face. You see parts of his face, but you don't see the whole thing. And yeah, he's pretty terrifying in his mannerisms, the way he speaks, the way he does things, and in some parts, how he doesn't do anything at all. Yeah, he's very, very scary. As far as Mason Thames goes, I was very impressed by the child actors in this movie. Not only from Mason, the main character, who plays a 14-year-old kid, but all of the other kids that play high schoolers, from the bullies at the school, to Mason, to his sister, played by Madeline McGraw. She was also really good, because this movie encapsulates the 70s, but also what it's like to be a child. This movie has children in it, but don't make the mistake that a couple families did when I saw this movie, and don't bring your kids to this movie. It has children in it, but it's not for children. This movie is rated R. Not only from the foul language that they use, but also there's some violent images as well. So the child aspect, the teenage aspect in this movie was really well done. Also, Scott Derrickson is not afraid to film things to make them seem real. For instance, there are some fights at the high school that kids attend. But Scott Derrickson could have easily edited shots or panned away or done a couple things where a kid, mimics a punch and then you see blood splatter or something. He could have taken the easy way out with some of these scenes and shots, but he doesn't. He makes it so it's realistic, as if you're there. There's also another scene inside the household of Finn and Gwen where their father has to discipline them. And even the dad, played by Jeremy Davies, who was in... he was the young guy in Saving Private Ryan. He's also in Justified. You know him if you see him. Him, as this drunk father who's single, who's trying to do the best he can with his children, but also having to live with what happened to their mother. Like, it's all really good. It's all fleshed out, and it's all real. Some of the co-stars in this movie were pretty good, and they surprised me. Jeremy Davies as the dad, like I said. But also, I was surprised that James Ransome was in this movie. He was an actor from The Wire, but he was also in Sinister 2, which was interesting because Ethan Hawke was in the first Sinister, James Ransome was in the second Sinister movie, and the second one wasn't directed by Scott Derrickson, but he must have seen that movie or that character and been like, you know what, I like his stuff because him and Ethan Hawke share a movie, and I thought that was kind of neat. Anyways, the tone of this movie was really good. There are parts where you're meant to be scared, but there's also parts where you're meant to feel hopeful. And that's what this movie is about. It's about Finn kind of deciding that he's no longer going to be this scared kid that gets picked on, that gets bullied, that gets shoved around, that gets scared. He decides he no longer wants to be scared. And when he gets help from some beings, he learns courage. He learns what it's like to be brave. And that's where this movie goes from, "Ooh, I'm terrified of the bad guy," to, "Yeah, get him. Because he, Finn's able to stand up for himself. And the bad guy gets their comeuppance. And so this is a good movie. It's not just a horror movie, but it's also an uplifting movie. But again, not for kids. Don't take your children to see it. So because this movie was very thrilling, very scary at some points, but also just very well done movie that's tells an unorthodox story, and Scott Derrickson returns to form, and he shows that he can use flashbacks and found footage camera as like memories and flashes of past lives, and it's all very well done. Because of that, I'm going to give The Black Phone an A-. This movie was really good and really creepy, so I recommend it. Till next time, see ya.